I was sitting in my tactical operations center in Ramadi, alone. I was staring at a document on my computer, and I had to keep wiping tears from my face as I read it. The document had been submitted to me by the Delta platoon commander. It was an award recommendation for Michael Monsoor. And the award was the Medal of Honor for Mikey. He had been sitting on an outcropping of a roof in South Ramadi on an overwatch, and a grenade, which had been thrown from an unseen location, actually hit him in the chest and fell to the ground in front of him. And he could have jumped away from the grenade, and he could have saved himself. But if he had done that, his teammates that were positioned next to him, they would have been exposed to that blast. So instead of moving away from the grenade, Mikey jumped on the grenade. He smothered it, and he absorbed its lethal explosion, thereby saving our teammates, and at the same time sacrificing his own life. The morning that it happened, September 29th, 2006, I got a call from the battalion commander from the 1st to the 506, an outstanding officer and leader that I respected and admired. And this element from Delta Platoon had been in the field receiving fire and returning fire most of the morning, which was nothing new or nothing unusual, but it had escalated. And I knew that there had been trouble, and when the colonel called me, he told me that there had been a bad fight. And then he went down the list of my men, describing quickly what their wounds were and what their status was, and pretty much telling me that they were going to be okay. Until he got to Mikey. And I could hear a shift in his voice. It became very grave and very serious, and I could hear the sympathy in it. And I knew what was coming. Mikey got hit bad. He got hit really bad, Jocko. And I don't think he's going to make it. And my heart jumped through my chest, and then it sank back down to my stomach, and then erupted into my brain in a maddening rush of anger and horror and gut-wrenching sadness. And I grabbed all that insanity and all that emotion, and I pulled it back into my mind, and I held it down there while I uttered the only words that I could muster. Roger that, sir.
So talk to us a little bit about Ramadi and experience. And I know up to a certain point, Ramadi was always the place that we would usually send an Army brigade or battalion to work with the Marines. Mm-hmm. And but they were always detached from the next higher Army unit. But what was your situation in Ramadi that you guys encountered?
Well, first, we didn't know that we were going to Ramadi until we were in Kuwait. So we thought we were going East Baghdad with our brigade, and it was one of those. No, you just got orders to Ramadi.
Right.
It's like, where's that?
West of
Baghdad. It's out in Anbar.
No.
Ooh. What's that? What's that about? What's going on in Anbar? It's like, well, the Marines are out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, S2 figure out what's going on in Ramadi. So he Google searches Ramadi, and there was a literally nipper Google search of Ramadi, and there's a video posted a day prior of an Al Qaeda in Iraq parade right down ASR Michigan.
Absolutely.
Right through downtown. Black flags,
right past
masks,
the government center.
Right past the government center.
Absolutely.
Firing AKs in the air, the whole nine. And so we're like, holy cow, this is not good. So went out there on a pre-deployment site survey, linked in with the folks who were there, 269 Armor, who were really out there doing a fantastic job, and had been there 6 months. A lot of loss, a lot of sacrifice, and just tremendous service. And we ripped with them, and as it turns out, we were working for 2nd Marine Division. Mm-hmm. Our higher headquarters was the 2nd Brigade of the 28th Pennsylvania National Guard.
Okay.
And now you've got this Air Assault Infantry Battalion from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, that has a National Guard tank company attached to it from Pennsylvania. And then we just started, they started hanging more ornaments on the tree. We ended up with elements from SEAL Team 3. We ended up with a firepower control team provided by the Marines. We had a Marine Corps Civil Affairs team. We had a laundry and bath unit from the Pennsylvania Guard. We had a CB company that was sent down to us. So over the course of the time we were there, the task force ebbed and flowed at somewhere around 1,200 people. So wow. Huge organization, pretty much owning East Ramadi and partnering with our Iraqi brothers and sisters. It was a pretty daunting task, but again, you operate at the speed of trust. So the brigade commander, John Gronsky, became eventually the division commander of the 28th Infantry Division, Pennsylvania Guard. General Gronsky, who's now the Deputy Commanding General in U.S. Army Europe, John Gronsky is he's the most physically courageous senior leader I've ever personally witnessed in combat. So to say, oh, you're with the Marines and you're with the Army National Guard, I mean, it was really such a galvanizing experience, a lot of times created by a willing enemy that, folks work together in a way that I just don't think is normally the case, or that they had not done before in that fight. But it was because we were able to build trust with one another. And, working with General Gronsky, who became a personal friend over time, again, gets back to that lesson about building a relationship with your higher headquarters.
Right. And
that's really where I figured it out. I was during that time frame working for him. They were replaced by 1st Brigade, 1st Armored Division, Ready First Combat Team.
Right.
Colonel Sean McFarlane.
Right.
And, came in and, we started really getting after putting into practice some of the techniques that we later ended up putting into doctrine with the low intensity conflict doctrine. So, again, Anbar Awakening and all that business, we were right there on the cusp of that. So
interesting. What were some of the things that you found in terms of working with all of those different types of entities? And the combat function or combat support function is less what I'm looking at, but more different services, and then even within the Army, you've got different components,
right.
Active, National Guard.
Right.
How does that go in terms of kind of keeping people's attitudes focused where they need to be?
Right. You got to build relationships. It's a contact sport. So, leadership's contact sport. So getting out and about, because my biggest fear as a battalion commander was to have to do a memorial service for a soldier I hadn't met. So you've got a 1,200 person task force that includes detachments and attachments, and your battalion in itself is 906 people, and then you strap on all these other organizations.
Right.
I had to physically be in a lot of places. So whether you're sitting with a different group of soldiers every time you go to the dining facility, or you're slapping people on the back while you're in the weight room, or you're just walking around in the motor pool, laundry and bath unit, saying hello, talking to the CBs, spending some time with them while they're out on site building something. battlefield circulation, throughout the battle space. It's spending time with the soldiers and really kind of getting everybody around one idea that Task Force Red Currahee is who we are, and we fight one way, the right way. And so, it was really, it was kind of it's as if we came to the same conclusion together, that, if we didn't work together, we'd perish. So the teamwork, the relationships, the camaraderie that we built in that organization at that time, some of it, it still exists today. I stay in contact with brothers from SEAL Team 3. When we had a task force reunion ball, one of those things we were able to do because, we were at Campbell for a little while after the deployment, we were able to memorialize all of our fallen comrades, and at the same time, able to bring people together. The Navy, electronic warfare officer came out from 29 Palms in California.
To the ball.
To the ball. Marine Corps military working dog team came out to the ball from California.
Cool.
The Delta platoon of SEAL Team 3 came to Fort Campbell for the ball. So we had 1,500 people guys came from the Pennsylvania Guard for the ball. General Gronsky came to the ball. So
another example of getting the band back together.
Exactly. So it was one of those things that everybody felt like they were a part of something really special, and it was because we built a team in a very arduous, difficult situation. Navy SEAL Mike Monsoor awarded the Medal of Honor. The SEAL team invited everybody from Task Force Red Currahee to the White House for the Medal of Honor presentation to his family. Mm-hmm. They asked me to be their skipper for his induction into the Hall of Heroes at the Pentagon.
Wow.
So it was one team. It was one team, one fight, all together. And again, it's relationships built at the speed of trust.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, as you're sitting there and you find out, hey, someone else is coming to the band.
Right.
We're getting a new instrument in the band.
That's right.
Did you guys come up with something that was kind of some sort of an in-brief or kind of an onboarding that made a routine to it, or was it kind of figuring it out each time based on what the piece was?
Well, it depends on who they are. So when folks would show up, like when SEAL Team 3, when Delta Platoon showed up, we immediately did their reception, stage and honor integration with our scouts. So they went out on ride-alongs. They went out on rooftops with our guys. They saw how we operated, learned our tactics, techniques, and procedures. Even used the same uniforms as us. They went out and got ACUs, so they could wear the same camouflage pattern as us.
So it's not to draw.
That's
a
right.
distinction.
So it's not to draw a distinction. Part of the team to get on board.
Interesting.
And then all the techniques that we use to shoot hard targets and that, they were on the same rooftops inside the fob, on the range with our guys. With the CBs, again, their responsibility is to do their job, but what we made sure they understood was what's hot and what's not. So you don't travel any roads that aren't cleared. We will make sure we escort you and secure you wherever you go. Building trust with them so they understand all we need you to do is build.
Right.
We don't need you to fight yet. So
we'll let you know.
Yeah. So it's one of those situations where, depending on the piece that was being added,
Gotcha.
To the puzzle, how do we integrate them? Because there's always some sort of transition with a left seat, right seat.
Sure.
But yeah, it's very different for each element.
And I ask because I think it's one of the things, at least from what I've seen, that we traditionally find just about every new way each time to screw it up in terms of attachments and detachments, whether you're being attached or receiving attachments. So I was interested to hear your thoughts on that, but it makes pretty good sense, but it has to be deliberate.
Right, and when new soldiers would arrive, I would personally talk to them. First stop, battalion conference room, awesome. me and the command sergeant major talking about standards and discipline.
Awesome.
And it was linked to, again, force protection, because in Camp Corregidor, 269 Armor lost 6 soldiers inside the wire due to indirect fire. So wear your gear inside the wire at all times.
Right.
So if you're not, absolutely, dialed in to the threat, then, if you don't have your gear on when you're going to chow the next morning after arriving the night before, then it could cost you everything.
Too late.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if the battalion commander and command sergeant major are telling you, wear your kit, I wear my kit,
right.
You wear your kit, then they're going to wear their kit.
Yeah.
So it's not just window dressing or people talking at them.
Interesting.